Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the Sego Fibers podcast. Hi, I'm Carrie, and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. This is a special episode where I'll talk about normal knitting podcast projects and things at the beginning, and then I'll take you through our trip up to Idaho to see the Trailing of the Sheep Festival. And so that'll be at the end. And there's even like a yarn shop tour after that. Lots of show and tell today. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And if you're interested in anything in particular, I'll have timestamps down below so you can click to whatever sounds good. It is the week of Thanksgiving and all the leaves are changing or have already changed. It's pretty much post color now and all the leaves had decided to fall. I'm looking out my window at the big tree out front. My husband Nathan and son Ethan raked all the leaves this last Saturday and it was pretty cute. They had a whole big pile, which I'll include some footage of. It's just really fun to see kids playing in leaves. But in the midst of fall and Thanksgiving prep, thankfully we're not hosting this year. My family and my parents are going over to our friend's house actually and joining her and her family. And so we're just having like a big kind of get together and we're divvying out all the dishes. And so I'll be putting together maybe a couple pies, the sweet potatoes, and like a couple other sides, but it's not going to be a huge thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Now that I've waffled on and gone on a tangent all about Thanksgiving, this is a knitting podcast where I talk about the things I've finished making, the things I'm working on now, and the things I will be working on in future, and any other crafty bits that come along with that. So our first one is a finished object, and these are the morning coffee socks. These are from the 52 Weeks of Socks book by Lina, and it's a pattern by Valentina Consalvi, and I'm really, really happy with how these came out. You use a 5 skein mini skein set, basically, so 5 20-gram minis, but I modified it pretty heavily, and because of how I did that, I ended up needing like 21 or 22 grams for this middle color. Thankfully I had enough, but that could throw a wrench in things if you were to try and copy me exactly. But I'm really happy with the stitch pattern. These are not blocked, so these are just kind of straight off the knitting needles, but so normally these are a toe-up sock, and typically there would be like, I'll just include a picture because that'll be much easier for you to see the original. It has a purled toe and the sole of the foot is also purled, so I think it's sometimes called like a princess sole. So all the knit stitches are on the inside, and the heel, I think it's some kind of short row. I didn't read through it all really, but it's also like a purled texture. So that way like this entire bottom and toe piece is purled, and then all this top is the same basically, except I did mine cuff down, so my stitch pattern is technically upside down, but I still think it looks really cool and I'm happy with it. The kind of stitch it is super stretchy. It's not half fisherman's rib or fisherman's rib, but I would say it's in that family. And so it's like, it has like a lot of give all the way. So if you're looking for something to fit, probably a wide range of people, I think this is a good one. It also it's just nice and stretchy, and it's an easy way to use 2 colors. So the cuff is like a twisted rib basically, and it only uses the first color, and this is a set that I hand dyed, so I was able to like get exactly the colors that I wanted. And then this will be a gift knit for a male member of our family. And so it's like a Christmas gift, basically. And so then this section has the gray of here mixed with like a really light greeny blue. And then this next section has the light greeny blue and the middle color, which is like a medium green. And then the heel is this middle color by itself. Oh wait, here we go. Oh, okay. Fuzz and hair. All right, so that's the middle color by itself. And I came up with this heel by this kind of pattern by myself. Honestly, it probably already exists somewhere, but I hadn't seen it. But so like I said, the pattern uses some sort of short row heel, but I know that this person has a rather high instep, and so it's like, okay, I don't want to risk it not fitting. And so it's like, I'll go with the trusty heel flap and gusset, and because I know that'll fit, and I'll just come up with like a heel flap stitch that I think coordinates well with the body of the sock. And so what I did for this one, I did the typical like reinforced type stitch where you knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, except when I slipped, I held the yarn in front. And then on the back, I purled all the way across, and then I just repeated. So it's knit one, slip with yarn in front, knit one, slip with yarn in front, then on the other side, purl across. And so it's like really easy and simple, but I think you get these really nice little boxes on the heel. And so I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that kind of worked. Something new. Yeah, and then, yep, so there's a gusset as well. And I think that's really why it used more yarn, because you're adding stitches. And then I've added the second darkest green, and then this is the two darkest greens in here. And then there's the darkest green for the toe. Yeah, so this took some trial and error. Initially, I started it with the recommended number of stitches, which is 68, a pretty standard number for a men's size. And so I did that for the cuff, and then I got about here, and I tried it on my husband to see if it would fit him, because I know they're like similar-ish, and it was huge, like it was literally baggy, and it's like, what? So I decreased 8 stitches roughly evenly around, and so I have 60 stitches throughout the rest of the sock, which makes it go faster, which is nice. But it's still plenty big, and I think that's due to the just the stretchiness of this type of stitch. And what else? Okay, so then I got down to here, and at first I wanted to keep the integrity of the look of the pattern and do like a purled sole and toe and stuff. And so I tried to come up with a interesting pearl looking heel flap. So I actually first did this heel flap like to look inside out, and so this was on the outside the first time I did it, and I thought that was kind of like a cool looking reinforced pearl heel flap kind of thing. And then I started working on like the gusset and the sole and everything. So literally like this part is how it looked on the outside when I first tried it. And I was like, well, I'm okay with that, but I'm not as in love with it. And to be honest, it really just looked inside out to me. And once I got to this point where I was like purling like half of my stitches because of the sole, it's like, and really more than that because there's pearls in the main texture too. It's like, that's a lot of purling. And I didn't think I was that against purling until I came up against this, and it's like, this is miserable. I think it's probably because the needles are so small. It was just like really hard on my hands that I ended up like dreading working on it. It's like, there is no point to doing it this way if I'm just dreading it. I'm not in love with the outcome of how it looks. And so why force myself to do it if it's not even worth it? And so I ripped back and I redid the heel flap so it was this way. And then I just decided to knit everything else as normal, and it was so much better. I actually like how it looks a lot better, and it was way, way more fun to knit, and it was going pretty fast. And so I pretty much did most of these on a road trip. I started it for the last podcast, and if you watched that one, props to you, because that was a doozy. But it was just so long, so this one won't be as long. But yeah, so this one is finally done. I'm really happy with it. And when Nathan saw them at the end, he was like, oh, I want a pair of socks like that. Those are like, that's like the perfect ideal, like hand knit pair of socks. When I think of hand knit socks, like it would be that, like those colors, that stitch, like it looks perfect. It's like, oh, sure, I'd be happy to make you some. And then I said, do you want these colors? And he's like, yeah, I like them. And then I said, well, are you okay like having literally matching pairs with this other person? And he's like, nope. Okay, do brown or blue or like something else. So I just thought that was funny because in the past he has inadvertently like matched this person before, and it's just like, it's just funny. So I will most likely make Nathan a pair of these, but in different colors. Yes. Oh, and I also really want to make a pair for myself. I'm not sure what the stitch counts would be for it yet. I have to do some trial and error for that. But yeah, I definitely want to make some for me because one, it was really fun to work on, and I think the color play can be quite fun. But I will say it uses a lot of yarn. You don't have a whole lot left over. So this next one is a whip, and you saw, I think, a cuff of it last time. And so, hold on. All right. I think you saw a cuff of it last time, and I told you that I needed to like set it aside and save it for the family trip we were going on to Denver, because that's where I mainly wanted to work on it. So I did. And now we have a sleeve and another sleeve and this much of a body. So this is the Nurtured Sweater by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn I'm using is Lamb's Pride worsted. Oh yeah, okay, I should really turn the lights off regularly because the color is showing up really nicely. This is a single ply, and it's 85% wool and 15% mohair, and you get like 113 grams in it. And there's 190 yards or 173 meters per skein. I have 6 of these, and so I'm knitting the size 1, which I think is maybe slightly smaller than what she recommended. I'm not sure, but I didn't want to have that much positive ease because I think initially the way it's designed is to be like maybe a wider cropped fit, and that doesn't go with my wardrobe that well. And so what I'd like is like a little bit of positive ease, but not a lot, and longer. And so I'm thinking if I do a size 1, then I should have enough yarn to do that. I should just have enough. We'll see if I have to play yarn chicken, I'm not sure. But basically what I want to do is add 3 inches to the body, and that should be what I want. So we'll see. And a cute little progress keeper from Dragon Horde Yarn. Gotta love a pumpkin spice latte. I have a pumpkin theme going on. Yeah, so I'm really loving it. I can totally see why people knit worsted weight sweaters because they fly. Like each sleeve took just over a day. And by a day, I mean like an afternoon and a little bit of evening. So it was super fast. And this has been really flying. And the stitch count, I mean, the stitch is super fun. It's also very stretchy. And so I feel like even if it ends up being a little bit small, I can block it out because it stretches quite a bit and there is a lot of dimension to it. And when I initially tried on the sleeve just to kind of see out of curiosity what it felt like, it was snugger than I expected, so I'll probably try and stretch it out a little bit. But also another thing that surprised me was it felt a bit itchy. And I was like, oh no. Because this yarn is so pretty and it doesn't feel itchy at all when I'm knitting with it. But like right here on the inside of my arm, like it just is like, that was prickly. And I was like, oh, I don't want to dislike wearing it. And so I was kind of bummed out about that at first. It's like, oh, what's the point? What's the point if you can't wear it? But then after thinking about it and realizing like, some people do wear like a long sleeve tee under their sweaters. What about that idea? And so then I was like, I don't have any. So I was like looking around at different stores that might have like really basic ones. And I was like, oh, that wouldn't be so bad, And one of the positives is that if you have a layer underneath your sweater, it gets less dirty. So you don't have to wash it much. So like that's a plus. And then you could do more things with lace because you don't have to worry about like things showing through. So it's like, oh, that opens up more opportunities. And I'm interested in like really rustic, like Icelandical, like Plutolopi and stuff. And so it's like, oh, I really wouldn't have to worry about itch factor. So what if I just stocked up on some long sleeve tees and it's like, bring on all the woolly yarn. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. We'll see. I think if I don't have to wear something underneath, then I won't. But I also think I'm gonna be ready to do that, just because it should open up a lot more yarn options. Yeah, but yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. I guess one modification I did was I did a tubular cast on, which I really like. It's my favorite, so I just do it. Yeah, so that's the nurtured sweater. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be super warm, which will be really nice. And then, you know how last time I mentioned that I ran out of yarn for my sister-in-law's mittens. And so I was like, I had like maybe like this much of the thumb to do, like 2/3 probably, of color work of my contrast color. I ran out. And so I found that Wool Warehouse had the same yarn and the same dye lot. And so like, okay, so I know I want to order that, but I don't want to order one 25-gram ball all the way from England all by itself. I want to put something in there. And so I was like, okay, I'll wait a little bit and see if Drops comes up with another sale on something. And so they did, and they have, I think it's still current, but they have their Drops Baby Merino on sale. And so I picked up 5 balls of these. Oh, yeah, okay. The lighting on this is much better. Sometimes I put the overheads on just because I feel like it gets dark, but this might be enough. And the colors are way better, so yay. This is color 20. It's their, I think they call it dark gray mix. It's one of their blended ones. It's super soft. And what I got this for is another gift knit for Christmas. So last time I talked about a swatch I made. So this is the swatch for my husband's Christmas hat. And for this one, I'm using Biches, Bûches, Cashmere, and Lambswool. And oh, it is such a gorgeous yarn. I'm really excited to get going on this one. And I'm gonna go with 3.5 millimeter needles in broken rib for his hat. And I was talking to Nathan, and like we were trying to figure out Christmas gift ideas for family, and it's like, what about our brother-in-law? Like, should I just make him a pair of socks? Because he's like the only one that's not gonna get something at our big family thing. It's like he'd be conspicuously left out, and so it's like, oh, I should make him something. And so he's like, well, why don't you make him a hat? Like kind of how I've been talking about the hat that I'm looking for. And I'm like, okay. And so the reason I initially picked this yarn for Nathan was because he really wants a woolly rustic yarn, but soft, and I think this one checks the box for that. However, my brother-in-law, he has more of like an urban sporty vibe, and so like rustic woolly stuff doesn't work, and I don't really think he's all that into itchy or, anyway, I feel like drops would be much better because it's smooth. Oh, fuzz. It's smooth and it's super soft because it's, I believe it's 100% merino. Yep. And it's easy to wash because it's superwash, and it's inexpensive. Like this whole thing, it was like $15 for 5 balls of yarn, which is great for gift knitting. I got 5 because just to match like a similar yardage for 3 skeins of the Biches Bûches. I don't know if I'll need all of it because I'm coming up with the pattern by myself, but I feel like it should be more than enough. And I can always use extras for other things. But the swatch for the drops ended up looking like this. And so similarly, yep, okay, this is the 3.5 millimeter and this is the 4. And it's just really interesting to see how different yarns behave with the same needles. This one came out much tighter and denser than in the Biches Bûches, and the 4 millimeter got almost the same, almost exactly the same gauge, and it's like maybe slightly smaller, but the fabric is very similar and it's much nicer. So I think a 4 millimeter with drops and a 3.5 with the Biches Bûches pretty much equal each other. And with the drops, I held it double. And I also held it double with the Biches Bûches. I just think it works well, and I'm also going for a really flat fabric, and I think holding 2 yarns together, especially of like an equal size, I think it can make it flatter, but whatever. Yeah, so my plan is to use the 4 millimeter needle and just cast on with this yarn because this will be a whole lot easier to rip back if I need to than the Biches Bûches, and because it's just not as grippy onto itself. Sorry if you're hearing baby noises. This is their quiet/nap time, and my 7-month-old is gurgling in her bed. Let's see. But yeah, so I thought I would do my first run with this yarn because it'll be easier to work with. And my next project that I'll be working on tomorrow is the Bear Paw Socks by Andrea Mowry. So every year she comes out with this knit along challenge over Thanksgiving weekend. I think this time it's running from Wednesday to Monday. And the challenge is, can you knit a pair of socks in that time? And in the past, I've kind of like followed along and kind of like, oh, wished I could participate, but it's like, there's no way I could do a pair of fingering weight socks in that amount of time with all the Thanksgiving stuff going on, especially on years that we travel. This year we're staying home, so it's pretty low key. Yeah, so this year when she said, I'm coming out with a DK weight pair that uses 3.5 millimeter needles, rather than like 2.5 or something. That seemed a lot more doable. And so my thought for that was like the way she designed it was you hold two yarns together. You don't have to, but you can. And so I dyed up this color. And so this is going to be my main color. I thought it would be a really fun Thanksgiving color. It's very pumpkin-y. Initially I was going for more of like a golden yellow, but it came out more orange, which I'm totally fine with. I think it's nice, and it has a little bit of red speckling in there. Yeah, so this will be like my harvest Thanksgiving color. And then I'm going to pair with it a whole bunch of like little mini leftovers of sock yarn that I've collected over time. And it's like, you don't want to waste them, but this seemed like the really perfect opportunity to use them up. And so I'll just kind of make a pair of scrappy, fun DK08 socks. Yeah. So that's my idea for the bear paw socks. I like that it's a very similar style to her DRK Everyday Socks. And I think they have, I'm pretty sure it has sizes all from like baby to large adults. So it's like really good for everybody. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I've done her kind of heel before. They're toe up, and then I think it has like a Fleagle heel or something. I've done it once with the Crispidia socks that I made for my mom, and it was really nice and it worked out. So I'm looking forward to making more of those. And I think that wraps it up. Yeah, that wraps it up for all my knitting going on. Let's get into the Trailing of the Sheep Festival. So the Trailing of the Sheep Festival was in early October. Here's the little program they had for that. I love the sheep. Anyway, I'll show you the map that's in the brochure as well. It takes place in Haley and Ketchum, Idaho. And I love the illustrations. It's like all the different cute things. There we go. So the festival is a several-day event, and at the beginning there's lots of like cooking classes and tastings and restaurant events and like farm-to-table dinners and all sorts of things like that. When we were going, we were bringing like our 3 little kids, and our oldest is 3, and so it's like, okay, some of those like nicer things are probably not for us. So we focused more on just like a lot of the more chill, relaxed part of the festival. And there's a big wool fest, and part of that is the big festival with lots of booths. And there's like they sell like yarn, fiber, raw fleeces, pretty much anything sheep related, sheep cheese, lamb food trucks, and like and all sorts of like products too. So there's like wool blankets and pillows and garments and spinning things, felting things, you name it. So it's a whole lot of fun. And there's also fiber classes and just things, anything related to do with that. So there's fiber prep, there's how to make your own pillow with like sheepskin and put a design on it, weaving classes, dyeing, possibly spinning, like all sorts of things. You can like make objects or just learn a technique. So our immediate family went with me, my husband Nathan, and our 3 kids, and we met up with Nathan's parents and his friend from college, and who's definitely become like a family friend of all of us for sure, and we try and do stuff together every year. And he's the one who actually told us about all this, and we went together for the first time last year. And so yeah, we just had a grand old time, and we found an Airbnb of a house in Haley, which I'll show you a little tour of when we get to the footage part. But yeah, so it went really well. It was a lot of fun. So we left on Thursday after Nathan got home from work, so we drove up in the evening. And so yeah, I just pretty much spent Thursday as mostly a normal day, but with packing added to it. Yep. And then on our way out, we went by the library and we picked up some books. I had placed some on hold like for pickup because it's pretty convenient. You just kind of pull up in a spot, say you're there, and they bring out your books to you, which is pretty nice. So the first one is A Spinner's Book of Fleece. You might be able to tell a theme from these and what I've been interested in learning about lately. This one is super cool. It's probably my favorite of the lot. It's a breed by breed guide to choosing and spinning the perfect fiber for every purpose. And so basically it has like, there are different like breed snapshots. So like here's the one for Shetland. It's really well laid out. And there's just information on like what the breed is about, but also like how to use each of these, how to clean them, different characteristics of the different kinds of breeds. This is probably the page I've looked at most. But like how to use the different like finer wools and like which ones are good for different things. Yeah, so this one's really cool for that. Just figuring out what to do with what wool you can find. Or if you're interested in an outcome, like what breeds would be good for that. And then this next one is the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. And this one's really cool. Like techniques for creating 80 yarns. It is so creative. This one's talking about novelty yarns. I haven't gone through everything with this yet, but like, I don't know, like they even have stuff for like drop spindle. Yeah, it's basically like an A to Z guide of how to spin different yarns, like either on a wheel or a drop spindle, I think. Yeah, I love just the great variety of different kinds of yarn that you can make. And it's really like inspiring to kind of push you into trying new things. Or in my case, to trying anything, because I've never spun before. And then this book comes highly recommended as a good book about drop spindles. Yeah, so it just really dives in to all that. This is one I plan on reading more slowly to really kind of digest and learn from that. And then this one also has a bunch of really more creative, more crazy yarn. I'm not really sure what you would do with this kind of yarn, but I think it's really cool to look at. And I think it has some pretty fun ideas as far as like color and stuff go. And if you want to make some, I don't know, really odd like tassels or home decor of some sort, I don't know. And then what I like about this one a lot is that it's all about spinning with color and like how to get different effects and different ways of plying yarn to get different colors, how to blend colors. Yeah. I'm really curious to learn more about that. But yeah, so that one seems pretty useful. So yeah, those are the books we picked up on the way out of Salt Lake, and we got dinner on the way, and so we were like listening to just fun radio and whatever in the car and talking, and I'm looking at these books because I'm so excited about them, but it's like, I can't concentrate while we're doing all these other things too. So I had to set those down. And so then I decided to work on my garter rip socks, which I showed you last podcast. And so I was working on those. And then we made it up to Haley, Idaho, and had a nice evening in and went to bed and had a fresh start the next day. Good morning, it's Thursday, and today we're going to get ready to go to the Trailing of the Sheep Festival up in Sun Valley. and it'll be mostly a normal day. We'll spend it packing and just getting ready, and then when Nathan gets home from work, we'll head out, and I think we're going to stop by the library on the way out because I put some books on hold all about spinning fibers, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll take those with us, and we'll grab dinner on the way and get up there. Yeah, so very excited, and I'm gonna try a vloggy style. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, excited for you to join me. So the next day was Friday, and in the morning we went to the sheepdog trials. And so it's so much fun to watch. I could totally sit there for like most of a day just watching the sheepdogs, and the weather was gorgeous. There was a slight chill, so you kind of wanted like a light jacket, but it wasn't cold by any means. The leaves were starting to change. It was just a really beautiful landscape. The dogs they use for the sheepdog trials are border collies, and we got this kind of brochure thing about all the sheepdog trials. So I'll just read this to you while I play footage of the different things and try and make it relevant. So border collies have been used to herd livestock for hundreds of years. With training, just a few dogs can move a huge herd of sheep across the wilderness. Most instinctively know how to keep sheep together and moving in the same direction. The best herding dogs try not to bite or bark when working with the sheep to avoid startling them. Much of the herding dog's power comes from his eyes and posture. Eyes focused, head down, body crouched in a predatory stance. Though herding comes naturally to border collies, the dogs have to go beyond instinct and think for themselves when they are on the job. Although their value is recognized and they are well trained, they are not pampered pets. Sheep may roam within thousands of acres, so dogs must gather livestock from miles away. Isolated from the rancher, herding dogs must learn to make decisions on their own to collect and move the animals, sometimes getting lost themselves. However, when the dogs return to the rancher's view, they once again take commands and guide the livestock into place. It is said that the best herding dogs are hardwired to herd sheep and cattle, and that this is a career for which they were destined. It makes them happy to be outside working livestock with their owners, running through the grass with the sun on their backs, the wind in their faces, and the smell of cattle and sheep. We appreciate these dogs. And they have this cute little picture of a border collie. And here's an actual photo. The trailing of the Sheep Festival sheepdog trials begin with a handler and competing dog at one end of the trial course, facing 5 fresh range sheep at a distance of 450 yards in a straight line ahead of them. Each dog begins with a total of 100 points, and the judges deduct points as the dog negotiates each step or element. The steps must be negotiated and completed in sequential order. Each dog has 12 minutes in which to complete the course, but points are not awarded for finishing early. Many competitors have not worked with wild sheep, and it is a difficult course. Many of the dogs in these trials will not complete the course. Only points for completed elements will be used in scoring. In addition, a dog may be dismissed for biting or allowing their sheep to go off course. Step 1. The outrun, worth 20 points. The handler releases the dog to run clockwise or counterclockwise in a pear shape around behind the sheep. It can be up to 600 yards without spooking or startling them. The dog then begins the lift. Step 2. The lift, worth 10 points. This is where the dog introduces him or herself to the sheep and slowly begins to move them forward. Step 3 is the fetch, worth 20 points. Here the dog brings all 5 sheep to the handler, waiting at the end of the field. The first part of the fetch is to bring the sheep 200 yards and through 2 parallel fetch gates. Once through the gates, they will travel another 250 yards to and around the handler clockwise. Step 4, the drive, worth 30 points. Broken into 3 parts, the first leg of the drive, the sheep are herded 150 yards toward the first drive gate and through it. The cross drive. Once through the gate, the sheep must cross the entire field an additional 150 yards and go through the second drive gate. The third leg is to drive to the shedding ring. Step 5 is the shedding ring, worth 10 points. When all 5 sheep are in the shedding ring, which is 40 yards in diameter and marked only by a circle on the ground, the team must then shed or separate the back 2 sheep from the other 3. The judge usually calls good, and the sheep are then regathered in the ring, and then they head for the pen. Step 6 is the pen, worth 10 points. Once all 5 sheep are back in the ring, the handler will walk over to the pen and open the gate. The dog will then attempt to herd the sheep to the pen. These sheep have never been worked in groups of 5 before, so this can be very difficult. The handler can assist the dog, but once his or her hand is on the rope of the gate, that is where they have to stay. Once the sheep are in the pen, the trial is complete. Seeing multiple teams go through the entire process made you realize how difficult the course actually is and all the skills needed to complete everything. And it was just really interesting. So some teams made it look really easy and other ones were like, oh yeah, this is actually quite hard to do. But it was so much fun and the weather was gorgeous and everyone watching was so nice. And we got to talk to some of the people participating in the trial and we learned a little bit about where they're from and how they got into sheepdog trials and stuff like that. It was really nice. After that, they had some booths set up kind of behind where the sheepdog trials were, and they had some yarny sheep fun related things that they were selling, but they also had lots of food. And so we got some lamb, of course, and had a nice lunch there. And then after that, my mother-in-law and I went off to our fiber class. And so we took the Fiber Prep 101 class, and it was so much fun. Oddly enough, we were the only 2 students of the entire thing, which is really unusual because for our instructor, she had just very recently taught the exact same class at another festival, and it was over maxed out. And so I'm not quite sure why we were the only ones, but it ended up being really nice because we got a lot of attention. It was really casual. We could pretty much go at our own pace and do what we wanted. And so that was really fun. And basically she gave us each about 2 ounces of straight off the fleece fiber. And this was from her own sheep. His name is Stormy, and he's a Shetland and Cormo mix. So yeah, she literally just reached in her big trash bag of fleece and pulled off some, and we weighed it out. And so the first step was just cleaning it, pulling out lots of vegetable matter and grass and stuff like that. And then we kind of separated it and floofed it, and then we put the fiber in mesh bags like this. And this is a good size for just doing 2 ounces. It filled it. And then we had a little plastic basin that we put hot water in, along with this power scour. What's it called? Unicorn fiber power scour. It worked so well. You just do a capful, 1 or 2 of them. And so we had the soap in really, really hot water, as hot as you can do. And then you just kind of set the bag of fiber on top and you kind of gently, slowly press it in, and you don't do anything else. It was so hard not to keep pushing it in, but you don't want to agitate it because then it'll felt. And then we did that and we let it kind of sit in there and cool down for half an hour or so, and then came back and rinsed it, or did do the same thing with no soap to rinse, and then we just did that a few times to kind of get it out. And it was really interesting. so much dirt came out. Like I had no idea like it was that dirty. And so like the first time the water at the end was so brown, but the second time through it was almost totally clear. Like you could hardly see anything in it. So that soap works really well. And so that was pretty cool. And so then after that we put it in like just a little like salad spinner basically to kind of get all as much moisture out as possible. Then we laid it out on paper towels to dry overnight. This was a 2-part class, so we had the luxury of time. And so we just floofed it out and yeah, let it dry overnight. And then the next day we came back and we got to try all the different ways of carding and combing fiber. We tried using like the little combs where you have it when you're going like this, basically. And I was really surprised how much waste there was. Oh, going back to the cleaning part. So the next day when we came back, we weighed our fiber that we had cleaned and dried, and it had lost about like 30% of its weight from taking out the vegetable matter and washing it. Some of the lanolin and dirt and all that stuff comes out. So yeah, it lost like 30% of its weight, which was surprising. But yeah, so then we got to practice combing, and when we did the combing part, I was really surprised how much waste there was, because like any bits of fiber that are too short, you take out. Anything that tends to break comes out, like all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, and then we used like these, what do you call them, like handheld carders. We did that and I liked those. Those worked well. I think if I were to try and do some of that at home, I'd probably get some like that. Let's see. What I liked about those was you could make these cute little rollags. And then we also tried the big drum carder, and that was fun. Like this one was really special. It's an electric one, and she had won it in a giveaway, and so she uses it all the time because this is her thing. And so it couldn't have gone to a better person. And so yeah, it was really fun to get to try that. And we ended up making bats with those. So I'll go ahead and show you the fiber we did. And so these are the little rollags that we put together. And so basically these are from, I think, the carders that I mentioned. So it ends up creating like a rectangle of fiber, and then you roll it up to make these little burritos. And I think to spin it, you would like kind of pull from the inside and spin and stuff. But yeah, so this is the color of Stormy. So it's kind of a dark-ish browny black gray. I don't know, darker brown, I suppose. It's very soft. It's a fine wool, and I'm really looking forward to trying to spin it. But yeah, so these are the rollags I made. And then here are the bats. And so here's one. This pretty much looks like a giant rollag because I rolled it up. But yeah, nice and fluffy. This came off the drum carder. It still smells nice and sheepy, like clean sheepy. But yeah, like there's still some vegetable matter in there, which you can see. We were surprised at how like unthorough we were, even though we were trying to be thorough. It's hard to get it all out. But yeah, it's so floofy and really soft. So basically to spin this, I think I would just like pull off strips of the bat and then spin from there. And then here's another one all rolled up and a third bat. So we have 3 bats basically. And this is around 4 ounces of fiber, I would say, because we got a little bit extra from what the teacher was working on with us. And So this with the roll accent is super poofy, which is really great. So that was really fun. There were also all sorts of devices. I think she also had a pair of English combs, which are just like the little combs that we used, except massive. And so it has super long teeth, and most of the stuff for working with the fiber looks like medieval torture devices. And so it's ugh, I didn't try the English combs because they were just too out there. They looked pretty dangerous. And then there were she had all sorts of things for us to try, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend her class if you ever come across one, or anything similar really. It's really cool to go from literally raw fleece all the way to ready to spin fiber. That was a really fun process. So then we walked back to our Airbnb that we were staying at, and we had a pretty chill evening. Veronica was just about to turn 2, I think, next week or so, and so her grandma and grandpa gave her their present, and she and Ethan both had a lot of fun with that. We had a nice dinner, and then we went for a walk in the evening. So it was a little chilly, so you'll see Veronica wearing my puffy coat all wrapped around her. But it was a really nice just walk around the neighborhood. All right, and Saturday was Wool Fest. And so we went and walked around the festival a lot and saw all sorts of booths.
Look at them go jumping. Dancing.
I was so tempted to get my own raw fleece, but I was still like unsure and too new to figure out exactly what kind of braid to get or how much I would need or what's like a decent price or not or really what to look for. Thankfully, one thing I did learn from the class was that when buying a raw fleece, you can like take a little bit of it and like hold it up to your ear and stretch out the fibers. And if you hear it like crackling and popping, that's a good sign. That means it's healthy. But if it's quiet, then that means it's like the sheep has either undergone stress or the fleece is old or it's like not really good and you don't want to buy it. So you want like crackly fleece when you stretch it. So I did test that out. But yeah, so I ended up not buying a fleece because I figure that's more of an investment and I want to really know what I'm doing before I do that. And I also knew I probably wouldn't get to it at all until the new year. So I was like, no rush. I know there's spring coming and maybe a new batch of wool out there. But one thing I definitely was looking for was some fiber and a drop spindle. And I did find those. And so I actually got these at the same booth that I bought from last year. And it's from Nottawonk Springs in Cornish, Utah. That's where they're based out of. And this is the drop spindle I got. I think it's really pretty. It's nice and simple, but I think it's just really nicely made. And they're green, what is it? And it's called green sleeve spindles. This is the kind of bare bones basic kind, perfect for learning on, she said. And the fiber I got is pretty exciting. So I wanted to get what should be a sweater quantity's worth because I'm ambitious. And so I got 8 ounces of this color. And this is, what is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. This is Corriedale. And so it's from a single sheep. I guess that's the sheep's number. And this is the Corriedale. It's a really nice kind of creamy white. And this is Roving that's just been rolled into a ball. This is 4 ounces. And this is 4 ounces. And it's so soft. I've heard that Corriedale is a good one for starting to spin on, so I was looking for that, and I also know it's soft. So that was also a nice feature. And the other color I got is this gray one. And so these are each 4 ounces as well. And so I was thinking like 16 ounces total should generally be enough for a sweater. And this one is a Romney blend, but it's also a lamb's fleece. And so the staple length is shorter, and this is the softest yarn that a Romney will ever have. And it's a blend of some of their lighter color Romneys and their darker, so it's nice heathered gray. And my plan for these is to hold these together as I spin. So I'll use the drop spindle and I'll like find the end of each of these balls and just kind of like draft them together and spin them together. So it's a more mixed heathered kind of look. Yeah, and so they're both very soft. Romney I think tends to be less soft than Corriedale, but because it's a lambswool, it's like on par. It's pretty good. So yeah, very excited to get into drop spindling. I just think it would be really cool. It'd be such a cool process to make my own yarn and then make a sweater with it. Another cool thing that happened at the Wool Fest was that like every half hour they would shear a sheep and you could just watch the whole process and the sheep shearer would tell you all about it. And so yeah, I'll insert a clip of that, and that was really interesting.
I can't do it, but he always says you catch him by the nose. That's how you control the sheep. Anytime you grab by the wool on the back of their leg, that makes them just want to bolt. So you'll watch them just twist the nose, and that's how he controls them.
Yeah, we tell anybody that doesn't know, the head's the steering wheel. That's how you control the sheep. You just grab the handful, unless you're a great big guy, you're just going to keep drugging around.
It's like mutton busting at the rodeo.
That's awesome.
About 150, what guess? 150. Maybe more. I've never been good at that game. I'll stick to the training.
You want Grandma hold that?
Oh look.
Oh wow, look at that.
Wow. Hey Ronka, you want to sit with Grandma?
Come sit with Grandma.
Yay!
What do you think? Look at. You see that sheep? He's getting a haircut. He's cutting all his hair off. And then next year he has to get his hair cut again.
Yeah, you want to sit both of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. Oh, look at all that hair coming off of that.
Oh my
sheep.
goodness, do you see that?
Look how
All the
white it
wool?
is on the inside. Because Mommy's taking a picture. Sit real still. There you go. Look at the sheepy sheep. What'd that sheep say?
Bah.
Said that sheep. Look at all the four legs. Four legs up in the air.
Oh my goodness.
All four legs up in the air.
Look at all that.
Look at that sheep. That sheep is saying, hey, I'm getting tired of this. Uh-oh.
Did he
Is that
tip
hair
over?
coming off? Look at all that wool coming off. Yeah. There it comes. Yeah, look at there. He's like he's taking his coat off. Remember you took your coat off today?
Yeah.
We're
It got
taking
really
that
hot.
We're taking the sheep's coat off.
It's to help the sheep feel better.
Where's your shoe?
Where's your shoe go?
You have a string on your sock. Here's your shoe.
Look at that.
Grass on your sock. I think you have your shoes on the wrong feet. I think you're being silly.
Oh, I think Grandma's right.
Look at your shoes are on the wrong feet. Woohoo!
So after Wool Fest, my mother-in-law went to the last part of our fiber class, and that wrapped up, and we headed back to the house and had a pretty chill evening. And the next day, on Sunday, was the sheep parade. So we drove down to Ketchum where the parade was and found a good spot on the route, and I'll show you all the parade stuff. And then after the parade, we just went home. But yeah, so that was a nice road trip back. Continued working on the garter rib socks. And yeah, that wrapped up the trip. And this next part is the yarn shop tour. So my mom had taken a day off work, and this was like a couple days after our Trailing of the Sheep festival. And she asked if I wanted to go visit a yarn shop because she enjoyed it last time we went. And so I was like, oh, sure, that sounds great. So we were able to go up to Ogden, Utah, which is about an hour north, and we visited Needle Point Joint. And so I'll include all the footage and stuff. But yeah, it's a super nice store. It's very big. They have like literally all types of needle crafts. So all sorts of stuff for like knitting and crochet, obviously, but also embroidery and weaving and spinning. Lots of even thread and needle crafts that I'd never heard of even. But yeah, so it was really cool. They had lots of brands, lots of yarn, some harder to find things. Yeah, they were very friendly and very helpful. And it wasn't they didn't have like a kid corner or anything, so my mom was trying to wrangle them kind of in the back a little bit. So that was a bit chaotic, but oh well. But definitely a good place to go if you have like older kids who can handle themselves, or I don't know, or if you're by yourself, because then you can really kind of peruse at your leisure. I got there was this Ply magazine, and this is the Loft issue. So I've heard lots of good things about Ply magazine from various people, and it is very beautifully put together. It has really nice photography. So like, I don't know. So this one's all about, oh, that's fun. You can tell I haven't totally read through it yet, but like the whole point of this issue is like how to make like woolen spun, really woolly, lofty, airy type yarns that aren't like the opposite of smooth, more of like really warm and rustic. And I'm just really interested in that right now, and I'm curious to see if I can manage it in some way on a drop spindle. I'm not sure, but yeah, so like all these different things. But yeah, so it looks really interesting. Oh, that looks kind of fun. This giant spinning wheel. Can you even see that? There. All sorts of stuff. But yeah, I'm really interested to kind of get into that a bit. All right, I think that well and truly wraps it up. Thank you for joining me for the normal knitting podcast and for the Trailing of the Sheep Festival and the Needlepoint Joint Yarn Shop tour. I hope you had fun. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you have any questions? Are there any cool festivals that you get to go to where you are? Oh, here's one. What, if you spin, what is your favorite breed to spin? And why? I would love to hear about that. This is Thanksgiving week where we are. I'm doing this on like I think today's Tuesday. For us, this week is full of the World Cup because Nathan's a huge fan and it's fun just to have on. And Thanksgiving cooking prep and Black Friday shopping and all the random things that go with Thanksgiving week. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you're interested, feel free to like and subscribe. That really helps me out. And yeah, so I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and happy knitting. I'll see you next time.